Well, looks like we're gonna have to play Tetris again with the LEGO City because guess what? We've got to place the new 2025 modular building. I've got the Tudor Corner right here. It sort of looks like a medieval building, at least that section of roof does. I've got it placed on the medieval tables. I'm still thinking maybe I just need to expand the city, have like a downtown over here and connect the train and just have a bigger downtown area, like a little island over here rather than a medieval area. But then what am I gonna do with all my medieval stuff? I don't know, right? Like give and take. Would be cool though if like that subway or the train somehow came over here, had like a little circuit and then, you know, had some more modular buildings over here. That would be next level, but still, we've got so many castles and stuff we've got to deal with. There's also another building that we have to deal with in addition to the Tudor Corner, and that is the Parisian Street. I placed the Parisian Street on the back side of Town Hall, like right there when we were working on upgrading the Venetian houses and fixing up the canal, and I discovered that it's actually even harder to place than I originally anticipated. And that's because it sits on two base plates, but it also stretches right to the edge of this plate, so it doesn't match up with your average corner build. There's only 3 studs of sidewalk there, where your average corner build, for the most part, has like 6. So what happens is this little building here pops out, and of course, it has an open back, and it has this staircase leading nowhere. It's gonna be a tricky one to place. You have to build a back for it, find a place where it's gonna work based on the fact that there's only 3 studs of sidewalk here, and it's only 16 studs deep, and that goes up. It has an elevation. Very hard to place in the city. And recently when I placed the Brick Cross train station right here, I put the hospital beside it. And people shouted out, "No, don't put the hospital there. It doesn't look good beside the Brick Cross train station. There's like a little outdoor seating area right there at the end of Dark Ages, and it doesn't look good. It's too tall. The building styles don't match. No. Also, all the buildings that you put right here are too tall. No." Well, not everybody was saying that. I actually like the fact that we have some tall buildings here because there's some tall buildings in the foreground, then we get low in the mid-ground there, and then we go back up toward the Avengers Tower, so I actually don't mind the placement of those buildings. But now I've got 2 more buildings that I need to try and work into the mix here, and how on earth am I gonna do that? Of course, there's a lot of open space over here, and the easy thing to do would just be to place them over here. I actually had the Parisian Street placed right there, but it didn't really match the feel. It needs to go closer to the downtown core, and the reason I have those buildings sitting together right now is because they sort of look similar. Like they don't really look similar, but they have a similar feel to them, so they might look good if they're in the same vicinity in the LEGO City. Another easy thing that I could do with the Tudor Corner is just tuck it on the back side of Town Hall and call it done and be like, there you go, solution. Let's try that. You know what, it actually does look pretty good here, but it can't stay here for a couple different reasons. First off, this really unique angle that it has comes out pretty far on its base plate, so there's only about 3 studs of space there, especially after you factor in the seating spot there. And I don't really want to get rid of that seating spot. I think it sort of makes sense, so it's not going to work for that reason. Now, of course, right now it's lifted up 1 brick because I simply just placed it right on top of the elevated base plate that I built the other day. Another reason it's not going to work here is because it doesn't future-proof the situation. I am working on building the double corner for the Town Hall still, and eventually these half-building modular buildings on either side of Town Hall are going to get flipped the other way, and then all we have to do is build a single base plate standard modular building for the center and then put those on the back side of Town Hall. So it doesn't future-proof the situation. Also, this is a brand new modular building, so I would hate to bury it back here where you really can't see it. Now, I actually really don't mind this solution here, and I haven't placed it as your typical corner building. Like, it's not like the brick bank. It's not the end of the street with the flat side of the building up against another flat side of a building, but rather it's like a standalone building, And you'll probably notice that the hospital is gone. So I have to figure out where I want to put that if I run with this placement. I've placed it right beside the Brickcross train station. But I didn't have it like as a corner on the end of the street. Rather, I've turned it this way. So now the old guarded inn can actually share its seating space and sidewalk space with the end of the Dark Ages, giving it more breathing space for both seating areas. And I think it looks good. It sort of sits on its own there. It matches the feel of the Brickcross train station. It's not mixed in with other buildings that might not look the same as it or not have the same aesthetic. And that might be the solution. I'll have to run it by Mrs. Bricksie. Now, there is something that I'm not too happy with, and it's not this. I'm happy with the look of it from this side because you got the staircase and also multicolored walls like the tan, nougat, dark tan, blue, dark gray, white, black. So that looks actually really good from this angle. But from the back side, like over here, we have that solid wall, which isn't very pretty to look at. Because I'm not using it like a standard building, it sort of sticks out like a sore thumb. So there is that. But how often am I looking at the Lego city from this perspective? Not very often. So maybe it's not the end of the world. And for example, we've got another solid wall that you can't really see very often either, and that's the side of the jazz club right there. However, I do have a half base plate that's open right there. And if I really want to play some Tetris today, I definitely could, because I still got to place that Parisian Street, and I think a good spot for the Parisian Street would actually be right here. However, the Parisian Street is 2 base plates wide. So in order to place it here, I'd have to eliminate 1.5 base plates, which my double jazz club is. So I'd have to move the jazz club to put the Parisian Street right there, and that might sort of match the feel of the Tudor Corner over here. I guess while I'm thinking about some changes, I should probably do some vacuuming. Look how dusty it is. Things do get dusty in here. There's no question about it. Like, that is pretty dusty. You just got to try and keep on top of it as best you can. When you see it, you got to take care of it. Simple as that. This little handheld vacuum that I got from Costco, really helpful. So, yeah. You have the old modular buildings a-dusting. You can tell I wired these ones up recently because they're actually pretty clean. Now, something I don't like about this position is that this is like an old building. So you would think from a story perspective that this old building would be in the heart of downtown, and they've sort of destroyed the buildings around it and built newer buildings. You'd think that it wouldn't just be standing on its own right on the edge of downtown. So it doesn't really make sense from a story point of view. First thing I'm going to move is actually the police station and the donut shop. Just going to swap their positions because I think they look better with the height of those buildings. And then that Creator 3-in-1 building and also José's Bakery, going to get those out of there and clear some space for a new home for the Tudor Corner. And eventually move the detective's office, which was actually my first modular building, and put the Tudor Corner beside that because I actually think it matches the look of that quite well. But now I've got a bunch of open space and I've got a bunch of buildings that I need to place back in the city. Gotta put that hospital somewhere, the Parisian Street, the bakery, and all of the things that I removed from that area to make space for the Tudor Corner. I shifted some more things around and I put things back in the city, so now everything is placed. The Tudor Corner, it looks pretty cool there, doesn't it? Beside the detective's office. They sort of have a matching color with that blue. And then the Assembly Square, once again, has some matching colors with the nougat white and blue as well. And it's visible because you can just sort of get that nice, POV shot there and see the Tudor Corner, which is like worked into the downtown core. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the pet shop beside the museum, but for now it's all right. I will have to move the stairs that go up the like raised walkway around the canal. And I think the Parisian street makes the most sense there because it has those stairs and maybe it's going up into the access hole. So it's going nowhere, but maybe there's a continuation. I will have to build a base plate for the back, seal off the back of it just with like a false wall or something. And then of course I'll have to fix up the side there because there is that half base plate by the vacuum cleaner. So I could create like a larger seating area for it right there. And I moved the hospital away from the Brickcross train station, so I could create some sort of seating area for the end of the Dark Ages over here. Another idea that I was thinking I could possibly do with this, sort of a strange one, but if I remove this base plate, oh, this old minifigure doesn't have enough clutch power on his legs. Okay, let's try the lamppost. There we go. If I remove that and I slide this over, well, that makes space for something right here, and we could still have an expanded seating area over there. But the platform for the train station doesn't make any sense, but I could modify that because it's just bricks on its side, so I could maybe have it curve around the track right there as well. That could potentially work, but for now, I'm sort of just leaning toward having this positioned like so, and then we have that base plate for an expansion of some sort and some stories as well. Now, I am still thinking of building the angled road there, so it is good to have that open base plate and that half base plate there so I can go about constructing my angled road and then tailor that area around that. So I don't mind having some breathing space there, or breathing room, and I think that's good. These buildings like that, I think they look better because that tall side of the corner garage is blocked. I was not sure where I was gonna put the jazz club. So what I did was I moved that tall skyscraper that was here. It used to go around the telebeam or telepost in my old Lego room, and it's still hollow and I need to fix it. But I put it back there with the other skyscrapers, just right there. And that freed up this area because there was also the Lego store there. And I just flipped that around and put it on the other side beside the Palace Cinema. And then I was able to put the 1.5 base plate jazz club there, leaving half a base plate open for right there. There's this solid wall of jazz club there, but you don't really see it. And we could use that half base plate to do something cool. Or I could just slide this over to have that like so. And then I could use this half base plate to do something cool, maybe like a seating area for the pizzeria or something. So I think that could potentially work, but things can always change. I also put the bakery that Mrs. Bricksie built quite some time ago right beside the costume shop and also the Parisian street. I think it actually looks pretty good there. Now there was some remnants as well, so I actually moved those all into the open space over here, and that's this corner building, which I built using the guidelines from a 3-in-1 set, and I put that here, which sort of makes sense. It is a residence, and we do have other residences in this area, like those little townhouses. And then the diner is sort of out of place here. I really don't know where to put the diner. The downtown is looking pretty full over there. And then we've got these other mini modular buildings, and I grouped the flower shop beside that. The hospital for now is just right there. Unfortunately, the Poland doesn't make any sense because it's on the back side. So maybe it's just time to total my hospital, keep the mini builds from within, and rebuild something new. I do have a lot of white masonry right now. So I could build like a hospital modular building. That is a hospital modular building, but I could rebuild it using white masonry, and maybe it would better blend in with some of these other buildings. I really do need to decide what I'm gonna do with all of my skyscrapers. Like I do have 2, maybe 3 that are sort of out of place. And maybe I need to rethink what I'm doing with my skyscraper area, and also rethink or just start to develop this area so I can get a better plan. It is hard playing Tetris with a city like this because there are so many different shapes and sizes and colors of buildings, and also heights as well. So getting it perfect is difficult because you've got different sizes of blocks. Like this one is 2 by 3. This one over here is sort of strange. It's like 3 deep by 4 wide. This one is only 1 base plate wide with the train station. So there's all these different configurations that you've got to keep in mind, and it's not as easy as just saying, oh, put that one there, because then there's the domino effect, and that one might not work there because it doesn't match the configuration of that block. So I think I've come up with a decent solution for now. I think the Tudor Corner does make sense in the core of the downtown. Like they've built or rebuilt newer buildings around it. I do think the Assembly Square and the detective's office look good by it. And I think the Parisian street works there too. So yeah, I think for now, that might be the placement of those 2 buildings. If I decide to go with this layout here, well, then there's a bunch of things that I still need to work on. Fill in the half base plates, building the back for the Parisian street, filling in all that space there, adding all of the details, and just sort of finalizing where everything is. Also, I have the GWP that came with the Tudor Corner, so I need to build that and place that in the vicinity of that modular building. I'm going to deal with that another day. Mrs. Brixie's not feeling the greatest. We're going to go home and relax before picking up the kids from daycare. Thank you so much for coming on by. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more great stuff, as it's going to be coming out in the near future. And let me know what you think of the placement of the Tudor Corner. All right. Have a great day. Farewell.